In this week's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Tanya Perkins. Tanya is the founder and CEO of The Refig. The Refig is a no-nonsense hair and personal care line. Products are easy and quick to use, naturally effective, and travel-friendly. The Refig is available online via TikTok Shop. Tanya in The Refig participated in Ulta Beauty's Music Accelerator in 2022 and the Credo for Change mentorship program. Welcome to the show, Tanya.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
I am excited to have you on to the show. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'll tell you about myself in two rungs. First, hi, I'm Tanya, and I help make startups grow. I do so by making sure that the people, processes, and technology are there so teams can succeed. My background includes 6.5 years at the Federal Reserve, where I built the platforms behind the large scale asset purchase programs. And I've worked at several startups since then. And currently, I am working on the Refig. Uh, and that said, the Refig is a hair care brand taking the BS out of getting ready. Everything is quick and easy to use. Ingredients you can feel good about, and then eco and travel friendly. Uh, Everything is inspired by my personal journey with having an autoimmune condition and then just being a busy person. That said, we have solid bar conditioners and shampoos that come on cute strings like this or ribbons so that you can not only know what the product is, but you can also hang it easily in your shower. And then we also have the only plant-based powder to gel on the market. It looks like Parmesan almost. You just kind of shake it in your hand, get your hands wet, rub your hands together, and ta-da, you've got curls that last for days.
Okay, so much what you said was so impressive, but let's get into the hair, can we? Because look at your curls. I love them so much. And y'all know I love curly hair. I know I got my hair straight right now, but like I love me some curly hair. So I gotta ask you this. As a sister with 4C curls, I also refer to them as fight the power curls. Does the refig work for that? Yes. That's Does the refig work for my curls too?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. And I have to say, first and foremost, I come from this perspective that it kind of doesn't matter what hair type you have.
Okay, cool.
This is a lot more about making sure that you get a regimen that works for you. If you're like me, I love simple and easy, right? Everybody out there is telling you how
Yeah.
to stand on one foot underneath the blue moon, chant 5 times, also clap like a seal, and then your hair is going to do something. Hmm.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
down to like just 3 products that I use on a regular basis. And,
Mhm.
I'm also about loving all hair types. And
Right.
so, particularly, something that I feel that women with 4C hair or just about any form of waves, curls, or coils love are our shampoos and our conditioner. So, the
Yeah.
shampoo is something that is formulated so that your hair doesn't feel tangled and stripped when you're done, right? Like I'm sure we've all
Mhm.
had that, like where you wash your hair and then suddenly, like nothing can get up in there.
Yeah. That's so
No,
true.
no, there's so many
So
reasons why
true.
that's not a great experience, right? I made sure when I was formulating to not have that experience. I made sure that things were pH balanced so that the hair cuticle, instead of going like this at a high pH, was actually at a low pH and didn't tangle a lot. I made sure I put conditioners in there, like not let's
Mhm.
not wait till we do the conditioner step to actually condition the hair,
Yes.
and threw some additional oils in there, show a little love. And then our conditioner is designed to have just like additional detangling slip, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the number one comment I get, which is,
Yep,
"Oh
yep.
my gosh, your products detangle," right? The conditioner, the shampoo detangles, the conditioner especially detangles. And then if you're using the powder to gel, which is really good for like wash and goes and like trying to define curls,
Yeah.
that also, when you get your hair wet later, helps detangle. So
That's
the
amazing.
brand is for everybody. And
Mhm.
they each do their different things. But if you have 4C hair, I especially recommend trying the shampoo and the conditioner.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And as someone who has actually worked in the hair care industry back in the day, that was me. It's been interesting and exciting to see the much needed shift in how the various hair types are highlighted and celebrated. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about curly hair, and what does an ideal curly hair routine look like?
Okay, so some of the misconceptions are around like washing it. Like, I hear so many things that people
Mhm.
say about like how frequently you can wash it, how long it needs to take. So, like, let's put it this way: your hair can be washed daily. It can be washed or conditioned after you go ahead and, go in the sun or you go, swimming. They like wash it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
particularly if you go in the pool, right? Like, wash those chemicals out. I think that's the first one. People are like, oh, no, 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 no. I can only wash, and then they'll throw out this number. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody with the
Yeah.
number, but especially if you're wearing your hair curly and you're doing wash and goes, washing your hair every 2 to 3 days is actually very normal and very healthy. It's not going, if you've got the right products, it's not going to dry out your hair.
Yeah.
The other misconceptions are how much time that it takes. Like, I actually just posted a TikTok showing people what it looks like when I wake up late. I had like 15 minutes before a meeting. I really did record it, right? And I just like jumped in the shower. And I did my hair. And was done. My hair was done in like 10 minutes, but I also did some makeup and got dressed. 13 minutes and 23 seconds it
Oh
took me
my
to do the
my
full thing.
My
Yes,
dear, that's impressive. That's impressive.
my hair wasn't dry, but it was wet.
Still,
It was presentable, right?
yeah,
And so those are the things where it's like, no, you just like, it's okay. You don't have to do tons of this and twist and everything like that. If it's taking you a long time, you're probably fighting your hair, and your
yeah.
hair is fighting back.
Yep, yep. As someone who has man, I've lost so many battles, I can't even I can't even count how many battles I've lost. That's so true.
Right, like, you're like, whatever. Oh, I guess that's the other misconception, that I should have added in there. Everybody wants something different than the hair they have. I will talk to my friends
True.
that have, like, stick straight hair all the way through the spectrum, and everybody is looking for something else. Whatever you have, it's gorgeous. It's
Yeah,
all about the cut and your process and your products. It's
yeah,
not about your hair.
yeah,
It's
that's
not like your natural hair. I'm telling you, is gorgeous. You just need to learn how to treat it right.
that's true. That's true. That is so true. That's so true. So I want to explore your brand a little bit more, the refig. So as a fellow curly hair girl, that's me. I was intrigued by your product because I've never seen anything like your product on the market. So let alone for those of us that have curly hair. So can you tell us more about your product and what motivated you to create it? Because again, you guys got to check this out. Make sure you check out the show notes because it is something I've never seen before. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? This is and I just got chills, because there's, for anyone out there that's, made a piece of artwork, like,
Yeah.
you just think about to like back to second grade, right? Like, you went to art class and you poured your heart into like this design and you took it home, and like whomever was there was like, that's awesome. That's that little bit of pride. That's the
Yep.
saying that I get when people are like, "Hey, what you're doing is cool." So that said, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I found it was kind of funny. It was like the summer when my besties were all getting married or having their first kid. I pop up with rheumatoid arthritis. I was like, "Oh, that's a different life
To
milestone."
contribute. Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't expect that one. And I learned a lot about the importance of what I put in and on my body, right? I
Yeah.
cleaned up my diet. I was already eating pretty well, but like I also was very conscious about the cosmetics I started putting on my face and on my body. But the thing that wasn't there was the hair care, right? There was like at that time,
Mm.
clean beauty was only just starting. There were only a handful of brands getting out there talking about like being natural. So I just started making my own stuff. And
Yeah.
then one day, one of my college roommates comes over and sees like some of it up on the shelf, and she goes,
Mhm.
"Wait a second, is that why your hair is so curly and defined?" And then she kind of got mad because she's like, "Oh my God, you're holding out on me. You're
That's
even,
so true.
you are godparent to my only son, and you haven't given me this." And I was like, "Ooh, my bad." So anyway, she takes them home, slathers it all over her and her kids, and then starts text messaging our rooming group and goes, "My curls are doing something I've never seen before." By the way, I hear that all the time now, like especially from
Yeah.
men. They're like, "Oh," and so the rooming group starts messaging me and like sending me money to ship them stuff, and I was like, I don't have a business, guys," and they're like, "Oh, that's cute. That doesn't work that way. Give me some."
Yeah.
I started sharing with friends and family, and it got kind of unwieldy because it turns out they were sharing it with their friends and family. And one day I got a message that had a picture of a small child asking for more of Tanya's hair
Aw.
conditioner. And I was like, "Oh, you're so cute. Wait a second. Who are you? Who's your mama?" And I that my friends were sharing, and it was kind of cool because it meant I had a market. It's also really scary because I was making this stuff in my kitchen, right? Like just kind of doing me.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
decided to shut it down and bring it to market. And when I did that, I really just like doubled down on a lot of my beliefs about it needing to be clean, needing it to be eco-friendly. And so that's where, really landed on things like, the solid bar, right? Like
Yeah.
this right here, which if anybody at home can see, fits in the palm of my hand. This is the equivalent of like 3 bars, or not 3 bars, 3 bottles of traditional shampoo, right? This here, this little mini that we have, that's like perfect for traveling and fits in like this little tin here. This is the equivalent of 1 bottle of conditioner. Like, yeah, I know, right? That like just looking at
What?
that 70 to 90% of the products that we carry around
Wow.
are water. That kind of stinks because that's a lot of money in terms of like transportation, a lot of
Yeah.
plastic that goes into the environment. And, depending on how you think about things, the worst part is that you're just going on vacation trying to look cute and you're worried about whether or not TSA is going to take your stuff or if it's going to spill all over your bag. I
That's
just
such
thought that
a
was
good point.
unnecessary, and allowed me to not only do more eco friendly stuff like infinitely recyclable tins, but it also allowed me to cut out a lot of the BS, right? Like
Yeah.
the preservatives that are now, in a lot of our products, but
Yes.
in a lot of countries and even states now, it's coming under question of whether or not we should be putting some of this stuff on our bodies.
Yeah.
So, uh,
So
that's a
true.
long-winded way of saying, like, hey, I had an autoimmune condition. I enjoy traveling, and
Yeah.
I just made something that intersected and got a lot of validation, like accidentally.
That is amazing, and I love these types of stories, how people are just accidental entrepreneurs. Like, you weren't seeking this, you just fell into it, and that to me is just that's amazing. I mean, that to me is like, that was your purpose and calling and all that good stuff. I'm curious, what were some of the barriers that you might have encountered in trying to get this to the market? Because again, your product is so different. I've never seen anything like that. And I can only imagine that whole process of trying to convince other people that this is something that we need to pay attention to.
Yes, and definitely still having them. So, I'll kind of walk through them in different steps just
Sure.
so that folks out there also understand what it might look like for them, and sometimes how you have to just like shift your mindset.
Yeah.
So the first barrier was just even finding a manufacturer who could really work with me, right?
Yeah.
There's so many folks out there who will just take your money, quite honestly, and I ran into a couple of them.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was mind blowing. First, from the sense of like, they just didn't understand what I was doing and,
Mhm.
or, how to work with a small business like mine. So maybe, some of the big guys originally said, like, oh, we have low minimums. Yeah. And you have to do 50,000 units. I was like, I live in a New York City apartment. Where am I storing all of this stuff? Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
there were other folks who said, yeah, I could do this, but then didn't know how to, like, just really didn't have the tools. Like, I remember one lady who sent me this very frantic message about, like, I keep trying the same thing and it's not working. This is the definition of insanity. And then the very next message said, oops, no worries. Like, my staff member was using the wrong spoon.
Mm.
Okay. I was like, great, standard weights and measures. Let's actually just move on.
Mm.
And then there's a lot of people who will just try to convince you that what you're trying to do is not necessary. So many people said, let's start from the base products that are already out there. Why don't I add in all these things that you already just told me that you didn't want to have in there? So for me, what I did was, there's those times where you do have to delegate. And then
Yeah.
there's just times where you just have to say, oh my goodness, this I have to own. So I really did learn how to formulate. Like, I'd already figured out how to make a good product, but I really leaned in, did a lot of the, spoke the speak,
Yeah.
walk the
Yeah.
walk, talk the talk sort of stuff.
Sure.
Um, I've gotten into forums and just like I went to conferences and really just learned a lot about what that takes. That said, we're still in that battle of trying to explain to people what does it like, why this is like this is something they can use,
Yeah.
and well, I think I just chose the hardest industry because you want to tell anybody with curly hair what to do with their hair? No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. They've got like 20 different regimens already. So that said, if anybody is a great marketer and wants to help me out or wants to help me manifest 50 or 100K, uh, use the marketing test, you got my information.
Uh, No, I had to ask that because I, as someone who has worked in that industry, there was many moons ago that I was in there, and I know what you're talking about when it comes to the shady manufacturers and just how difficult it is, period. And like I said, I've never seen a product like yours before. And I'm excited for you. And I knew I had to have you on the show because I know it's just gonna be a matter of time before it blows up because I've never seen anything like that. It is very innovative, and I've seen your videos, you're very personable, and I'm not just saying all this, like, I really do believe that. So,
Okay, I gotta say, I think you are the infusion of faith that I needed
oh,
this week. I've had some weird conversations where you just go, "Wow, I don't know why I'm doing this." Right? Like there's not a dearth or a like lack of hair care products out there.
oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot. I would say a lot of them just don't work well. Um,
Yeah.
that
That's
said, there's
true.
not a lack of it, so I
That's
am
true.
shouting into the void. But this is one of those things where, like, I have this weird, like, hard to explain belief that this is needed, both
Yeah.
from a access and confidence, like especially if you start talking about travel, sports, camping, right? The
That's what
ability to
got me.
test these things.
Yeah.
But then this is also one of those things that, like, if I make enough noise, I'm going to convince not only you, but
Mhm.
your listeners and everybody else that maybe how we think about hair care, personal care, and use it doesn't have to be so hard or hard on the environment. And so maybe Unilever leans in a little bit more on their sustainability stuff, right? Like that would be amazing. You
Yeah.
shouldn't need my product. It should just
Yeah.
already be the standard.
That's so true. That's so true. So, listen up, Unilever, just saying.
just come in, come and co-invest and be like with me. That's that lets you that Unilever.
Yes, 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 yes. So, you wear so many hats. So I want to kind of revisit some of the different components that you work in. So, um, you're the founder of the Curly Hair Refig, which we've already discussed a little bit, but you're also a startup consultant. So, how do you manage all of these different endeavors? Because there's only 24 hours in the day, and I'm assuming that you have to sleep sometime in there. So,
Yes. And so I have been learning a lot about delegation.
yep.
That is huge. That is huge. I actually just brought on 2 virtual assistants. They're wonderful.
Good for you.
I'm also really excited that they are women of color because,
Fantastic.
I feel like they really get where I'm going and like the message I'm trying to put out there. But that said, yes, I'm learning a lot about
Mhm.
delegation. I also have been learning a lot about what feeds me, right? And what my energy is. There are things that I could be doing full force with the refig, but I'm not the right person, right? It's only going to drain me. And so,
Mm.
I take my seasons with the refig about what I'll be doing and what I'll focus in on and say, you know what, that's okay. Everything else has to be handled by someone else. That's especially important as we're in this phase where I'm, getting a manufacturer up and running. And so what else am I going to do? Like there's weeks in between when they send me versions of like, did we replicate it correctly? I'm like, what else am I going to do? Oh, I can go learn TikTok, right? Uh, and build myself up that way. The other thing that has been really important in terms of being able to manage my time is really recognizing that these things feed each other. There are
Mm.
things that I
Okay.
learned from working on the refit that keep me current with the things that I need to consult on, and there's things that
Mhm.
I'm consulting on that keep me current with the refig. If I was just solely in either of those silos, I feel like maybe I wouldn't be as much value, or I'd always be playing catch up. And so that
Mm.
just happens to be again recognizing what I'm good at as compared to like trying to do all the things.
I love that answer so much. And so what I got from that is you have a very good gift of discernment. So my that's what it sounds like to me. So how do you know what to delegate and what you need to keep to yourself? You know what I mean? Because that's very hard because there's someone that's like type A, I will admit it. Okay. I oh, type A. Like it's very hard for me to delegate. So how do you know which activities you need to delegate and who to delegate those activities to?
Okay, so that is really the hardest part.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess I'm still learning on this.
Okay.
I recently joined a group, and I'm going to plug somebody else. And though they're not paying me, and I'm just learning their program, I am doing this group called Hello Seven. It's actually a kind of like a support group, an accountability group
Hmm.
that is as like related to a book called How to Plan Your Year Like a Millionaire. And they also have another club like We Should All Be Millionaires. And I'm like, yes, I want more of that. But was something that just really struck me, and I literally screenshot it and sent it to everybody, was you should be picking one thing a day that you can delegate. And
Hmm. Interesting.
I have been deciding that that is whatever is the thing that's like holding everything up, right? There are things where like I need to make a decision on something. I need to set something up. Well, if I can't do that, if I can't do that right away, if somehow I'm the only one that could do that, but it's not in really like my skill set or passion, or at least the thing that I'm going to do with alacrity, like someone asked me, and I'm like, yes, not only did you
Mm.
ask me, it's already done. That's something I should be delegating, right? And so I've
Okay.
just been getting better at that. I'm not perfect. And I've also been giving myself some grace at doing that takes a lot of time. So for
Mhm.
the virtual assistants, for instance, that I brought in, I'm do tasks, right? Like I'll bring a couple on at a time. I'll give them small projects that, are maybe the beginning of a bigger workflow. And I'm like, okay, you succeeded at that. You succeeded at that. Um, I'll give feedback. Do they get better? Then I'll give them access. Then I'm like, look, I just kind of at one point want to be able to say, here's what I want to do. And in the spirit of Brene Brown, I'm going to paint it done. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with that and the overall vision. You figure out the best, most efficient system to help me get to that outcome and go.
Oh,
Some
that's
people
good.
fail at that, but like you just need to be able to get those people in your life and pay them accordingly, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not cheap, but like I have to then calculate what's the cost of me not getting that done.
I
So
just going to say opportunity cost. Yep, opportunity cost right there, right there. Which again, I had to ask you that because it's someone who again, type A right here. It's been interesting trying to do some of that delegation as well because I've got someone that's like a designer now, and like all that stuff is great. So I had to ask that question. So
well, if you're type A and you found someone good, also let's do some sharing of resources.
yes,
I always ask people, I'm like, so who are you really using over there? Because like, like can uh yes, that definitely ask your friends who they are using.
yes, yes, that is so true, so true. So, what other barriers? Because again, as a startup consultant, that's a whole nother set of complexity to your life, right? So, what have been some of the barriers that you've encountered in being a startup consultant? I'm sure I probably know a couple of them.
Yes, yes. So one of the biggest barriers is just getting people to realize that they need help and in which form, right?
Mm.
I think I usually get that text message when it's already blowing up, right? You're like, if they got a problem. So for context here, y'all, I do uh, startup consulting in operations, but really in HR. And I do what I like to call a little bit of sweet C-suite therapy. Uh, I'm actually listening to entrepreneurs say, that like maybe it's the CEO or the COO or something, and they're telling me what has gone down in their company and how they need help. They already, in
Mm.
90% of the situations, know what to do. They just kind of want to hear me give
Oh,
them my templates, tell them how I would approach it. And then
yeah,
they're kind of asking for permission, right? The same
yeah,
thing a lot of us do if you go to therapy or you go to coaching, you're sort of asking for permission or talking it through themselves. But the whole thing would not have gotten this far if
AJ.
24 hours, a week, 2 weeks ahead of time they had said, that looks like this sounds like a train's coming my way. Like, it's like sort of like, but instead they kind of stand there on the tracks waiting for it to happen. But guys, if just like if you hear a train coming your way, you either and you're standing on tracks, to move. If you hear a train coming your way and you're like, there's no trains in this neighborhood, it's a tornado. Take cover, do something about it. Don't wait. And I really wish that like folks recognize that earlier because we could have so much better outcomes. And
Um,
then also, and not have to, do as much work. But that's the hardest thing, trying to get folks to understand, like, hey, like, cool, totally fixed it this time, but like, we could talk more. We could talk earlier. You know my phone number. You found it at 2 a.m. Like,
yeah. But you know what? What do you believe prevents people from being proactive? You know what I mean? Like, what do you believe prevents them from being proactive and trying to, instead of waiting till 2 a.m. to contact you?
misconstrued faith. I am like also someone who like
Uh,
believes in this where I'm like, well, there's like five things that could go wrong. And you know what? Jesus take the wheel. I'm just gonna believe that this one's going to resolve itself. And quite honestly, I'll be surprised how many times that like Jesus does resolve it. But then there's times where I'm like, oh, you wanted me to
To
act on
take the initiative. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, so like there is a little bit of that. Like, I think there's just like this misconstrued faith. There's so much going on. And I'll be quite honest, there are just days and weeks where like I just kind of roll over on it. And I actually told one of my marketing consultants last week. I was like, I read your email first thing in the morning, and I just literally rolled back over and went to sleep out of out of a little bit of anxiety, right? Like
Oh.
so much to do. And that was also in of itself like proof to me that I needed to delegate it, right? Like I felt disempowered to really make a big change. I was the only person who could technically answer the question, but it wasn't really true. Someone else could have been like, yep, go ahead and do that. Sure. Like it was just
Man.
a yes or no, or a go make a new video answer. But I
Mm.
was just like, no.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I mean, you have so much on your plate. I mean, I don't know. How do you juggle all that though? Like, do you here's the thing. I understand you do the delegation. Um, do you also like self-educate too in order to help you reduce time in certain aspects of your business?
Yes. I would have to say this is again one of those things I'm still very much learning, and I wish that I can cut more things out.
Yeah.
That said, one of the things like I'm leaning in on learning TikTok. Right? I spent like 2 years
Hmm.
really like working with some marketing consultants that just did not work for me, like handing over just boatloads and boatloads of money to realize that they didn't really understand how to like win at certain games, and that's not to knock everyone that I've worked with, right? Like
Sure, sure,
they're
sure.
brilliant all in their own right. There are some that have really taken me really far. But in terms of like just trying to get certain components of marketing to work, I was like, oh, I'm going to need to lean in a lot more and educate myself so that I can contract people from a position of strength and knowledge. And, I'm working with someone right now. Her name is Mariah. Absolutely brilliant because she's telling me what I need to do also as I'm learning. She's like, she just sends me like a script. She's like, Tanya, here's what's hot on TikTok right now. I need 2 seconds of this, a second of this, a second of this. And I work with that. And she lets me know why it's going to work so that I'm a better
Mm.
client. So I would also say that's huge, right? As you're trying to figure out what to move in, what to do, finding people who are going to educate you back about why something's going to work or why it's not working has been huge so that like I can further delegate, right? So I feel like we just have like a few more things to tweak, and then like I can hand it kind of fully off to her. But again, manifest 50 to 100K, I'm just going to be literally be like, and here's the budget.
And then
Do it. Do it.
do what you will. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, we are in 2024. Today is literally at what yesterday was day 100 of 365, by the way. Crazy. Today is 101. Insane, right? So, if you had to choose one word to represent your goals for this year, what would it be and why?
I did not think hard enough about this question ahead of time because
That's okay.
it was like, oh, clarity.
Ooh, okay.
Honestly, that is what I'm working towards um, throughout the year. I have some really ambitious goals, but sort of as you've talked about, like, can I wear all of these hats? Which one do I
Mm.
need to double down on? Where in my businesses do I select what I need to be doing versus what other people need to be doing? And that's really the clarity that I'm seeking for myself. And then also for like these brands, right? Like clarity in terms of who this audience is. I may, this is something where I think we're gonna have to just keep like chipping away at the mountain. People are used to
Sure.
they're used to doing what they've been doing for literally decades. I'm coming in trying to change that all up. But on the flip side, I've been at, clean beauty fairs where, 1 in 10 people who walked through the door of the fair ended up purchasing something from me.
That's awesome.
Right? Like, I'm
Mm,
getting really clear on who that audience is, and I'm like,
mm.
I've gotta respond to some folks. Sorry if I haven't responded yet, but I'm getting some love letters now from that fair. People have tried the product and been like, "You mean something that looks like a donut
Yeah.
can clean my hair and it feels good? Wait, which way? But Tanya, let's talk more, right? Like those are great conversations to have, but I had to find someone who's open to receiving a little bit of my quirkiness, a little bit of my love. So
Yeah.
that's just, and being really clear that that's okay. Like forget everybody else who's where they are. That's, just like food, just like being in a relationship. Not everybody's for you. And I'm just getting really clear on that.
I love that. I love that so much. So last but not least, what is the best piece of advice that you have for women who want to start their own company?
Do something that you're going to love,
Yeah.
right? Like I I oddly love this, right? I was never a glam girl, right? Like half my makeup is actually thanks to the fact that I have a friend who has like literally she has a makeup business that like is going bananas, and I'm like, well, great, because I love your eyeshadow. Thank you very much. Um, I've never been a glam girl. Uh,
Mm,
I never really thought I was never really into my hair, right? I just like boop, put it up in a ponytail all the time. But the tinkering, the stirring, the discovery, the sensory of it is super fun. And then
mm.
the being able to like talk to somebody about it and like hand it off and being like, girl, I'm just gonna make this easy for you, right? Or someone tells me about
Yeah.
like a problem that they have, and then they start getting like really complicated, talking about porosity and this and that. I'm like, it's not that complicated.
Yes.
And then they give me that look of like, you mean it can be easier? And I'm like, yeah, quite honestly, like, and again, a lot of that stuff is valid, but if you're
Yeah.
like me, overwhelming. So that's just like there's so much joy in that.
Yeah.
Marketing stresses me out, so I'm not doing some of that stuff. But yeah, that would be my number one advice. Find something that you feel joy in, and that like there is something bigger than making money that you're trying to do, because that's the thing that's going to go when someone tells you like that your product is terrible. Or I had someone cry over shampoo, literally cry over shampoo. um
Hmm.
you can go, hey, it's not me, this is a bigger conversation. You got to kind of let some of that stuff be Teflon off you. It's hard because I went home and cried too, because there's so many, but like you need to be able to be in those conversations. So
Yeah.
find something you can enjoy, something that's bigger than you, and that you could just kind of just like, yeah, like this thing can be your release as well as your moneymaker.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And honestly, listening to you describe everything you just said is why I started this podcast too. Honestly, it is my joy. I enjoy connecting with people, sharing my platform to make sure that I'm doing my part to elevate people that I think, not think, that I know my audience would benefit from and that I know are going places. That everything you just said reminded me of why I do this. Totally.
I
Yes.
love it. And we should totally talk more. So many things I want
Yes.
to know. This has been so
Yes.
much fun. Thank you for letting me geek out about
Yes.
my very, let's be honest, this is a little quirky. This is a little odd, but like,
I love it. I
save your
love
hair,
it.
save the ocean.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And Tanya, I know I love it. So I want other people to experience this as well. How can they get in touch with you if they wish to do so?
Okay, so first and foremost, you can go to our website. It's the Refig, REFIG, as in refigure.com. So therefig.com. We're also on TikTok. I would actually love if people show me some love on TikTok. We've got a TikTok shop, and y'all, you can see me shooting videos in my shower, much to my mother's chagrin. But show us some love. It's kind of hard to break through that algorithm, but and we're every now and then there's discounts on both streams.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Tanya, I truly appreciate you coming on to the show. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and thank you so much.
Thank you.